Gay Panic and Cute Squeaks. Written by DJ Carnation. Read by Arashi. Shuichi Saihara, the ultimate detective. What a joke. They should have named him the ultimate embarrassment. It wasn't every day that Saihara would find himself in a situation where romance was a problem. He was very much aware that being in Hope's Peak, the most important thing to focus on is talent development. The protocol was simple. Practice and hone his talents to perfection through various courses, in which is his class time. Given the fact that there are only 2 known ultimate detectives within the entire school, surprisingly, and the way their skills are practiced are rather different in comparison to others, it's more likely than not Saihara finds himself simply tagging along during the others' classes. But he really doesn't deserve this detective title. This was just stupid. Why? Well, maybe it's because of the very first time Kokichi had flustered Saihara out of commission. It was unexpected. Unpredictable as Kokichi was, the boy could just be so scandalous. Saihara-chan! Saihara blinked once, turning his head towards the other who approached him from the library doors, tilting his head at the whining teen. It wasn't an odd occurrence for Kokichi to turn up during his free time to bug him, so he wasn't too inclined to ask why he had come here. "Good afternoon, Oma-kun." Saihara smiled, looking back down to his book and intent on continuing to read, leaning his back against the armrest. Kokichi huffed, crossing his arms as the crocodile tears began to flow. "You're not gonna pay any attention to me? Not even with what stupid Momota-chan did to my poor face?" Saihara's face scrunched at that, looking up at Kokichi to actually assess what was wrong. And right there, smack dab on his cheek, was an ugly purple forming bruise. Saihara stared for a long while, processing it for a few moments before he gave a deadpan. Why am I not surprised by this?" he mumbled, clearly offending Kokichi as he gave a sharp gasp, pressing a hand to his chest. "Saihara, how could you be so cruel? Aren't you going to help me?" he whined, hopping onto the other end of the couch and scooting over to Saihara's feet. "I mean, sure. Could you go grab the first aid kit?" Saihara asked, going to close his book. But then, that was when things started getting embarrassing. "But Saihara-chan!" Kokichi whined, only for Saihara to gasp and yell as the little gremlin wormed his way through his legs, getting right up in his personal space as his hands pawed at Shuichi's shoulders, the other feeling the heat flare in his cheeks. "You're not gonna kiss it better?" Kokichi pleaded with teary eyes, tilting his head to further express his suggestion. "Kiss it? Absolutely not, Oma-kun!" Saihara rejected, trying to squirm his way out of the situation. But Kokichi felt like being a real asshole today, only shoving himself closer to Saihara, the tears rolling down his face once again. "Saihara, please! I promise you can rub up my body all you want afterwards." Saihara choked on nothing, Kokichi backhanding the book from his grip and pressing his hands into the other's chest now. Shuichi's face was more than on fire, Kokichi's presence overwhelming him as he stammered and stuttered, momentarily forgetting they were in an empty library. If this were a cartoon, his eyes would be spiraling from how dizzy he was getting from the sudden, overly affectionate persona Kokichi was taking up. It was just so much. So much. It was too much, actually. So Saihara promptly had a gay freakout, right in front of Kokichi. "Holy shit, Oma-kun, hush!" he squeaked, hands slapped to his cheeks as his head was held down, practically sweating as his legs locked up, unintentionally trapping Kokichi in their tight grasp. Stop! He giddily bounced about where he was, fanning his face as he took repeated breaths. Fuck, stop being so cute, please! It's too much! He shook his head like crazy, a hoge swinging with every movement as Kokichi practically froze up. And the moment he caught his breath, Saihara realized his slip-up. Yeah, Saihara didn't stay long to see Kokichi's reaction. It was too embarrassing. And yeah, maybe he tends to get too uppity and giddy, like one of those overreactive, love-struck high school girls, but it wasn't his fault. It was Kokichi's fault. It was Kokichi's fault for being Saihara's middle school crush, and then being so damn teasing and cute. That had to be on purpose, too. Kokichi knows how he gets about crushes. Oh, right. Kokichi doesn't know he's his crush. God, he just committed arson on Saihara's life. Even now, Saihara can't help but feel so ashamed for how he reacted a week ago, because ever since then, Kokichi had been trying extra hard to get that kind of reaction again. And the worst part is that it's working, and he likes it. The worst week of Saihara's life, it truly was, because no matter how many times he tries to avoid Kokichi, it's like he's always around the corner, ready to pin Saihara to a random wall and fluster him seamlessly. He'd run his mouth like usual, every time he caught Saihara. When Saihara's hiding so far in his seat he's practically under the desk, Kokichi would attempt to squeeze himself in there with him. Saihara had even dropped his book behind the couch arm one time, stretching to get it only to have his waist fucking grabbed and shaken the fuck out of by a crazy baboon Kokichi. Not a fun time, especially when Kokichi crushed his cheek against Saihara's backside. Yep, fainted at that. But now he should be safe. Maybe it had gotten boring for Kokichi. He hadn't been around him for a while now, and it's already starting to near the end of the day. So maybe he was finally safe? He simply sat up at his desk in homeroom, casually listening to Kaede ramble as he leaned against the desk, palm holding his head up as he closed his eyes. This was fine, listening to Kaede ramble about piano sessions, and wasn't bad. That was until something cold pressed against Saihara's cheek, causing him to jolt. And the moment Kaede addressed them, he knew he was fucked. "Oh, hi, Oma-kun." The dread had never been more prominent on Saihara's face, eyes wide and pupils expanded as he stared forward, not daring to look back at his crush. "Afternoon, Akamatsu-chan," Kokichi sang happily, Saihara sucking in a sharp breath as the other leaned down into his line of sight. A grin stretched wide across his face as Kaede's own face scrunched in confusion. "Saihara-chan!" Saihara could already feel the red on his face as Kaede's eyes lit up in realization. A knowing smile of her own as she stood up. "I should probably get going. I've got stuff to do anyways." "No, Kaede, don't!" But it was too late for Saihara to start pleading against that, because Kaede was out of the room as fast as she had announced her departure. "She catches on quick, huh?" Saihara stumbled to his feet, twisting around as he backed up quickly, face ablaze and backhand covering his mouth as he scrambled for a response. "Oma-kun, please!" "Please what, Saihara?" Kokichi smiled, placing his Panta bottle on the desk and starting to take long strides towards the detective, who began to back up, an involuntary smile shaking his features as he pointed an accusatory finger at the Supreme Leader. "Don't you dare start, Oma! Don't do it!" he huffed, hating the way his heart fluttered as Oma pulled a confused pout, obviously fake. "Do what, Mr. Detective?" Hey, what's wrong? What do you not want me to do, huh? Saihara couldn't help but chuckle as his ears burned, only to gasp as he backed himself into the corner of the classroom, the other immediately blocking off his exits by his arms. Despite how small the other was, Saihara had been fooled once before, and never again, just how strong Kokichi actually was. He could easily pick up Saihara. Or maybe he was just that light? "Shh! Stop!" Saihara jumbled out as Kokichi bounced in place, giggling like a maniac as he bobbed and invaded Saihara's personal space again. "See, come to me, my precious. Let us rule the world together with my super-duper evil organization," Kokichi exclaimed, Saihara yelping as Kokichi threw his arms around the taller's midsection, stuffing his face into Saihara's chest seamlessly. "Oma-kun, no!" Saihara pleaded, trying and failing to push away the persistent little shit. "Does Saihara-chan really not love me anymore?" Kokichi whined before violently shaking the absolute fuck out of Saihara, a grin spreading on his face. "Well, there's no escaping." Saihara then, out of pure surprise, let out the most high-pitched squeak from his vocal cords. They both froze up at that, and there was no moment that Saihara could recall that made him want to die via embarrassment more than this. Saihara looked down at Kokichi with wide eyes, only to see the boy mere moments away from exploding, face red as a tomato as he held his breath, the occasional huff of amusement making it clear how hard he was trying not to laugh. "Don't!" Saihara huffed with narrowed eyes, entire body flushed as Kokichi bit his lip, eyes averting their gaze as he trembled in place. The moment he gave another violent shake that Saihara couldn't help but make a squeak at, Kokichi was gone, wheezing like his life depended on it as he shook and shook the squeaks out of the poor detective, cackling like a madman as Saihara's head grew dizzy and his hands had trouble finding perch somewhere. Kokichi shook them to the ground. Saihara struggled to gain words as his ribs were squeezed and those sounds came out like a squeaky toy getting completely squeezed to nothing. "Saihara-chan, the squeaky toy!" Kokichi wheezed, flinging his head back as he cackled and laughed. Saihara felt embarrassed. So embarrassed about it all. But he couldn't help noticing how genuine Kokichi's laugh sounded. Like he was actually finding all of this funny. It was boisterous and loud, wheezy but near contagious. Saihara himself even let out a few giggles through the embarrassment noises. God, why was he so whipped for such an asshole? So here they were, in a fit of laughter, wheezes and squeaks alike as the two's voices echoed through an empty classroom, like they were having the time of their lives. And before either of them knew it, Saihara's back was pressed to the floor, Oma nuzzling the hell out of his chest and only making Saihara laugh even more as he squeaked like crazy. However long they were there for, Saihara wouldn't know, but it had definitely been long enough for both of them to lose their breaths, panting like animals as the room grew quiet. He swore his face had never been redder, but here he was, red as a strawberry as Oma slumped against his taller frame, just as out of breath as him. This is why you're my favorite, Mr. Detective. The smaller huffed out, letting his eyes flutter closed as Shuichi lay there, heart pounding like never before. His chest felt swollen from grinning like a madman, burning from the flames of his own breath as he tipped his head back against the floor. He couldn't find anything to say to that, so he simply didn't. He just lay there, welcoming Oma's presence with that ever warmth in his heart. The next day at homeroom, Kokichi gave him a lot of shit for his squeaks. Good morning, Mr. Squeaks. Saihara buried his face into his book as Kokichi leaned against his own chair, tilting his head with a devious grin. Sweet Christ, Oma-kun, no! Saihara whined, his face already reddening with that signature horse laugh of Oma's. And then the constant teasing roused the attention of his classmates. God, fuck him. Squeaks? That's a new one, Kaede called out, making Ova grin the devil's grin as he looked back. That's because he's my beloved Squeaky, he exclaimed. Squeaky? Saihara cried out in embarrassment, much to the amusement of some of his classmates. Mainly you. Ha ha ha! What, is his dick so squeaky slick you can't help but restrain yourself, Iruma-san? Saihara slumped back in his chair, looking utterly defeated as he tried, and failed, to drown out parts of the conversation, too embarrassed to even attempt defending himself. Doesn't explain why you call him Mr. Squeaks, though. Come on, Amami-chan. Can't I just have this one to myself? Nope, now you've got us curious, Twinkama. Y'all fuck or something? Yeah, seriously? Now I want to know. Right, now you have to tell Himiko, degenerate. Saihara simply continued to suffer in his own embarrassment, huffing and sulking to himself as he pushed his book into the table. But then he heard it. Fine. I'll just show you. Wait, what? Oma, no! Saihara was not prepared to get another Oma assault session, not in front of all his classmates. But he couldn't help the squeak that flew out of his mouth as Oma squeezed his ribs in a hug, burying his face deep in the crook of his neck, which had turned red along with his ears and face as everyone went dead silent. He could feel Oma silently laughing against his body. And the moment the class erupted in reaction, he knew he was fucked.